here's to Penn State. Pennsylvania State University is the top party school in the U.S.
Fraternities have soared to new levels of infamy in the past decade. Portrayed in media as boisterous havens for partying and illicit behavior, they have been catapulted into the limelight. How, though, did fraternities originate? Were they always such indulgent instances of debauchery? According to Nicholas Surratt's quite detailed history of fraternities in America, these organizations originally formed in the mid-1800s for relatively benign purposes. Back in these times, the primary reason to join a fraternity centered on intellectual pursuits and hope for camaraderie, both reasonable considering their evolution out of the literary societies of the 18th century. Requirements of these once noble institutions included essays, extemporaneous speaking contests, and intellectual debate. Long before toga and tailgate parties became staples of Greek life, these men wanted to form societies that would encourage their members to debate the merits of ideas, improve the human condition through philanthropic work, and enjoy good food, drink, and conversation with kindred minds and souls. Up until the Civil War, good scholarship was lauded by fraternity men. To be manly, for these men, was to be forthright, confident, loyal, eloquent, healthy, robust, and intelligent, a far cry from today's definition of manliness. In the post-bellum period through the turn of the 20th century, students began to decreasingly value academic achievements as part and parcel of the successful gentleman. These students were much more heavily involved in drinking, hazing, pranks, and what many authorities dubbed immoral behavior. As of the 1920s, however, the role of fraternities continued to shift. Men around the country had developed a new blueprint for a type of virile masculinity. Fraternities were easily the most visible group to do so, and their continued social prestige allowed them to redefine masculinity as a measure of sexual conquest. After World War II, it became even clearer that fraternity men used and abused women in order to establish themselves as masculine, gaining prestige and respect from their brothers through exploitative sex with women. Here at Penn State, the complicated historical trajectory of fraternities has played out very similarly. President George Atherton, along with many faculty, felt that a fraternity influence would provide students with new opportunities for friendship and help alleviate the housing problem on campus. By the 1920s, fraternities were flourishing at Penn State. Almost 50% of the male student body was affiliated, and fraternities dominated the campus social scene. However, rocked by scandal in the last few decades, the Greek community at Penn State is currently in a phase of a return to glory in an attempt to refocus on the positive impact of these organizations. According to a recruitment letter posted by the Interfraternity Council of Penn State, every year, fraternity men participate in community service, philanthropy, intramural sports, and dance marathon, learning to manage functional households and balance a social life with professional life. Most evident at Penn State is the Greek community's involvement in Thon, the largest student-run philanthropy in the country, founded in 1973 by IFC President Bill Lear. In 2015, the top 10 Greek pairs raised over $2 million, almost one-fifth of the fundraising total. These organizations are rooted in the founding principles of their long-distance ancestors, but do they still have a positive impact? Especially in the last few decades, sexual assault and alcohol abuse have become the notorious points for detractors of fraternity life, leading many to question fraternity's value to society. In recent years, the rise in the number of sexual assaults has been quite apparent. 2 different studies have found that fraternity men are 3 times more likely to commit sexual assault than other college men, with 1 in 4 college women falling victim to these assaults. Ayers A. Boswell's study into fraternity life on campus showed 2 distinct party patterns, high-risk and low-risk parties with regard to sexual assault. Whenever someone talks about a rape situation, the party meets 4 general high-risk criteria: loud noise, darkness, lots of people, and plenty of alcohol. Low-risk parties tend to have an equal number of men and women dancing in groups, with friendly interactions. These are the parties where women said they felt safer, and where the atmosphere was one of friendship, not of hookups. High-risk parties, on the other hand, are where there is an uneven ratio of men to women who tend to stay apart from one another. Most men behaved in a crude and degrading manner. The chief interaction between the sexes was sexual and flirtatious rather than conversational. This is the environment most conducive to sexual assaults. One Greek man said, "This environment is horrible and so unhealthy for male and female relationships and interactions to occur. It is so segregated and male-dominated. Men can feel superior in their domain." Unfortunately, we can see these assaults on our own campus. Last year, Kappa Delta Rho scandal rocked Penn State Greek life. But this wasn't an isolated incident. From 2010 to 2014, the State College Police reported an almost 30% increase in complaints of sexual assault. These incidents have forced the Greek community to take steps to ensure this never happens again. All men who want to pledge a fraternity are now required to attend a 1-hour seminar that addresses how to prevent sexual assault on our campus. Unfortunately, it is too soon to tell if these measures will make a difference. In other colleges around the United States, this epidemic is seen as well. At the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, police are investigating a series of women who were hospitalized after being drugged at the same frat party. Last year, 3 sexual assaults reported at one Texas fraternity within 1 month. At Georgia Tech, a frat brother sent around an email to his brothers with a guide called Luring Your Rape Bait. Wesleyan University has a frat that was nicknamed the Rape Factory. Even prestigious Yale University was not immune to these incidents, with fraternity brothers marching through campus yelling, "No means yes, and yes means anal." When will these horror stories end? Is the problem inherent to fraternities and only resolvable by cracking down on them, or is it perpetuated by alcohol and other changeable facets of fraternity life? There is debate of the strict correlation between joining a fraternity and increased drinking, but it is fairly undisputed that the environment of fraternities promotes this act. According to the Journal of American College Health, higher drinking levels are seen in members of the Greek system than in non-members, and residency in a fraternity is a strong predictor of heavy drinking while in college. At the onset of young adulthood, fraternity membership poses an instant threat in furthering debilitating habits in adolescents who have had prior exposure to alcohol use. Students who drink heavily in college are often continuing drinking patterns that they established in high school. While drinking does increase for all students upon entering college, a perception of the fraternity system as a place that will support heavy drinking can lead an already heavy drinking student to pledge. This relationship between the new student and the fraternity leads to a self-selection process in which the new recruits perpetuate the heavy drinking culture. In the environment of such a heavily drinking fraternity, not consuming alcohol can lead to non-acceptance by the group, encouraging those who may not drink as much to conform. Here at Penn State, excessive consumption resulted in the death of a freshman, Joseph Dato. Dato's death was ruled accidental. Nonetheless, hours before his death, Dato, at 2 different fraternities, played beer pong, drank vodka, took whiskey shots, and smoked pot, according to court documents, resulting in his untimely death. The dynamic role of alcohol in fraternities has changed over the years. Since the inception of fraternities, national Greek leadership has made efforts to crack down on drinking. In the 1930s, Hell Week was outlawed. As of 1980, buying alcohol with chapter funds was prohibited. In 2000, fraternity housing became alcohol-free. Other recent efforts include evicting the fraternities that are sites of persistent alcohol abuse from campus or removing their in-house bars. These measures, nonetheless, have not provided the decrease in drinking sought by college administrations, a failure indicative of the inherent issues of fraternity membership that can contribute to the excessive use of alcohol. With all of the drastic complications posed by fraternities, many people doubt the viabilities of fraternities' roles in the college community. Is it possible to fix the sexual assault and alcoholic tendencies of these organizations? Programs are in place to resolve these issues, but we are still too close to the initiation of such programs to measure their success. However, Bradley Cohen, former president of Sigma Alpha Epsilon, one of the country's largest fraternities, points out that Greek life follows a bad business model. Every 4 years, you have a completely different set of employees, including your CEO and president. Taking this problematic organizational structure into mind, it's a foreboding sign for fraternities. Will they be able to overcome the issues that plague them, ones that are rooted in traditionalism, without a lasting guiding hand? Based on what we know so far, it is unlikely that fraternities as a whole can overcome these cyclic issues. The chief problems have repeated for over a century, and the initiatives thus far have yet to resolve them. Fraternities clearly have their fair share of complications, but do the philanthropic positives outweigh the negatives?